This is another Disney podcast production.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Plan for the Magic. We're so glad you're here. This is a podcast where we help you plan or wing your next magical trip to Walt Disney World Resort. Welcome. This is episode 4. I am Audrey Breen, your host, and my co-host. Say hello to the fantastic Dave over there. How's it going, Dave?
Okay, best intro yet. I had my fingers crossed that you weren't going to say old. Like no, I was so ready.
I did it.
Fantastic.
Oh,
I can
good.
I can promise you no one has ever called me fantastic on the podcast. So you're hired. There you go. Everyone will subscribe to this show. This is a show we'll promote more than any of the others. This is it.
That's really easy to get to the front of the line.
I'm good. And so welcome back, those of you who are binging these first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I hope you are doing some kind of moving around, not just sitting and. But if you're working at your desk, it works. Either way, I hope you're taking plenty of notes and ready to ask us plenty of questions as you're prepping for your, what do you call it? Super planned or hey, let's wing it trip. Either way, we're here for you. We got you.
That's right.
We got you.
Yeah. So our last episode, we talked a little bit about how long we typically travel, when we like to go. And at the end of episode 3, we talked a little bit about why we're picking some of the months and some pros and cons. And so we thought it would be really fun to just go through the whole calendar and talk about what we love about each month, some of the reasons why you might not want to go that month. And then, like we said before, we usually end up going the same times. But lots of folks have to, there's other calendars that they have to navigate around. And the good news is there's always a good reason to go for every month. Yeah. I think it'll be fun to go through the whole calendar.
I concur. Like there's 12 months. So there's 12 monthly opportunities to go. Does that make sense? Of course, all this goes out the window when you're like, because the British, they get like, I don't know how much vacation they get, but when they come here, it's like between 2 weeks and a month. Come on, like how do I get that type of vacation in my life? And B, how do I afford that type of vacation in my life? I could never go back to work. I could never.
I know that's true. That's
like, well, I've been gone a month, so you guys clearly don't need me, and I just have to find something else to do.
No,
okay,
I totally,
Audrey, all right, let's start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start.
There you go. Yeah. All right, guys. So January, we're going to start with January. My last January trip was in 2015. Our boys were smallish. One had a birthday during the time we were there, which was really sweet. So there's a couple of things. Well, we're going to talk about the pros first and then the cons. The pro is weather. When we were there, we were wearing jackets in the morning. Now, I say this as someone who lives in Virginia where it is cold. I'm in the mountains too. So it gets cold in the winter and it's very hot and humid in the summer. And so for those of us who are not super interested in the major hot, humid Florida weather of the summer, that is the pro of going in January. The weather is lovely. It can be chilly, but most of the time it's quite mild, and it's fantastic. It's a great time to go. The crowds are also relatively small. There is a caveat. Most folks now have Martin Luther King Jr. holiday off, which is the 3-day weekend. Anytime there's a holiday, everybody tends to go. I will say we ironically accidentally went that weekend. This was before I knew everything about Disney. Not that I know everything about Disney.
But you do.
But I would not have made that mistake in retrospect. Neither of our kids were school aged then. But honestly, it was totally fine. We arrived on Sunday. Martin Luther King Day was that Monday, and we had the rest of the week, and it was fine. The cons, other than kind of that holiday weekend, just keep an eye on the crowds for that weekend. So the kind of winter after New Year's is an opportunity for Walt Disney World to take some stuff down, to do some refurbishment. So there's a higher likelihood of some kind of ride, attraction, something like that happening. And it's sometimes even cool enough that enjoying the water rides, the pools at the resorts, could be a little uncomfortable. So those are the things. Oh, and I will also say park hours tend to be shortened in January. So those are a couple things. Weather's fantastic. Make sure the rides that you really want to go on are not going to be down for refurbishment. Avoid the holiday weekend and bring a jacket.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
You've hit a lot of big ones. So one thing that we always joke about on our main show is we call that park festivals, the park formerly known as Epcot, or another TikTok joke that I saw. The guy was walking through with his hand. He was just walking, hand up like this. If you're watching he's like pointing to something with his hand if you're just listening. And he was like, welcome to Epcal, the experimental prototype community of walls. Anyway, dumb dad jokes aside. So at least for the dates sort of ish fluctuate. It's hard to know what these dates are or how that will change post, pandemic. But this year, the 2021 Epcot Festival of the Arts started January 8th and ran through February 22nd. So almost until the last. So that's Epcot is super busy during that time, especially on the weekends, because of there's that fun, festival that's going on at festivals, the park formerly known as Epcot. So that's kind of big. And then also in a typical world, watch for the Run Disney. So the Run Disney event in January is typically the biggest one, because I think it's the only one that has the full marathon. So you can do the full, the half, the 10K, the 5K. Yep. And so that's like the dopey challenge or something like that. And then there's a goofy challenge where you do. So anyway, those weekends, of course, can be a little bit crazy. They haven't been, they were not this past year, obviously, because of COVID. And so, and most of them have been canceled through the year. There's one that has not been yet. And we'll talk about that when we get there. So maybe there's some speculation that they could potentially be back later on in the year. Have we covered January pretty good?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I have not been to Festival of the Arts, but I've heard it's really fantastic.
It is my favorite.
I need to put that. Yes, I have heard that it's pretty great.
It's just, they all kind of feel the same, but the Festival of the Arts feels the most different of all of them.
Most different.
Yeah. Like because you add, like you've got, you can't really see it. I talk about it, but that right there, if you're watching, I'm pointing to art that you can't even see, but that I got there and signed by the artist. And then there's another one like right above it that you can't see that I got there that was signed by the artist. And so they're all there. They're set up all over like Epcot, and some of them will do they'll sit out there and paint live, and then you can buy that one. But I bought the prints
and there's communal art, right? Like everybody can do this. I just love that.
Yeah.
I love that
so there,
much.
and then there's all of these really cool, like famous paintings or famous artwork that you can pop in and take a picture
like the photo ops.
So those couple of things right there kind of separate from, because of course they have food, they have drinks. Yes. Obviously Epcot is certainly known for, the adult beverage side of Disney. And so all of the other ones kind of have all that. So they kind of feel the same, where the arts ones is really kind of unique because of, you've got artists set up and you've got those fun picture opportunities that, and a lot of them pre-COVID had, PhotoPass photographers set up there. So you wouldn't even have to find someone to hold your phone and take a picture.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's right.
So that covers kind of a little bit of into February. Yeah. But
right.
February is also like Audrey said, that's where you start hearing about refurbishments.
I think January and February are very similar. Those are kind of
they really
together.
begin to shut down whatever when and a lot, like you mentioned, the resorts, but typically they'll close down the water parks, not because people wouldn't go, but obviously it dips during that time as far as the interest of people going, and like they will that does give them a good solid shutdown for them to refurb those parks. They typically will do some type of refurbishment in those every winter, even though it's not really that wintry in
right
in there. And so
a weird story, when we were there in 2015, we stayed at the Polynesian and the pool was being completely renovated. That's when they sort of brought the volcano down, and so we got free passes to Typhoon Lagoon. And thankfully we ended up like having a non-park day, and we went, and it was warm enough to enjoy, but it was like, we were not expecting to do that. But it was nice for them to do that since there wasn't a pool.
Yeah. February is a month that I've visited a lot, and it's because of what Audrey has said. It's the weather, but I think it's also the least rainiest month of the year in Florida.
That's a great point.
So like I'm really whiny when it comes to rain at this. I know people like I've never been able to embrace it and love it. And so now the thunderstorms that roll through in the afternoon, they don't bother me at all. But when I've dropped all that money and I'm there for just my 3 or 4 days and there's an all day rain set in, I'm miserable. There's
not a lot of margin on those short trips. That's for sure. Yeah.
Here's where you get to rub in that yours is a little bit.
I mean, if it were longer, and I mean, that's okay.
I hear you, girl. I hear you. But I mean, those are really the biggest pluses. Like you've got the weather, and then Festival of Arts runs almost through the entire month.
Yep.
And then
but there is a holiday, the President's Day. That's another holiday to keep an eye out because crowds can creep up.
Yeah. All right, let's look at March.
Yeah. So our eternal park of festivals, Epcot, transitions from Festival of the Arts to the Flower and Garden Festival. I still think March is relatively mild weather. I mean, for Florida's sake, and honestly, for those of us who've endured most of the winter, like there's a sweet spot for me going in March. You're like ready for some sunshine, ready for some warm air. So I actually think March is kind of awesome. I mean, mostly really the con there, I do think things are coming back online slowly. The big con is spring breaks are starting. So definitely be mindful. Most of those, I mean, the majority of like K-12 spring breaks are going to hit in the first couple of weeks in April, usually just around Easter. But there are definitely, college spring breaks, other spring breaks. So I think the crowds are starting to, that's kind of an unexpected time. It'll get you because I think most people think Easter spring break, but there are some in March. So keep an eye out for those.
Audrey, I have to back up. I did miss a big thing. And I think it's because they signed a new contract with Universal, but let me back up because now it's not making any sense. So another big thing that always happened in February was like Pee Wee football championships and cheer competitions, which always took place at the ESPN complex on Disney property. Well, because of COVID, like Disney just said no. And so they jumped ship. Whoever like oversees all that, they jumped ship over to Hollywood and signed to Universal and signed a multi-year contract. Now, I will say this, just because they're staying at Universal and the competition is happening, they're still going to come to Disney.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Expect the hotels will be a little bit more available moving forward for the next few years. True. Because they won't be on property, but they will come in and you'll see the groups in the park. They'll be all dressed up and have their cheer jackets on, or the football players will wear their jersey. So I meant to, and why I didn't mention it, because I was like, well, they're not staying there anymore, which that part is true, but they'll still come.
And that matters for the All-Star resorts for sure, the on-property ones, but you're right. I mean, they're going to show up and have a park day.
Yeah, no doubt.
Or two during their time.
So sorry, continue with March.
No, I think we're good with March. Do you want to talk a little bit? I'm going to put April and May kind of together just so we don't, sorry. That's okay. NSYNC is, I mean, I'm going to not even go there.
Okay, we can leave it.
Music is our jam in our family. Yeah. And I'm just going to say my children know lots of songs on the Amazon NSYNC station.
There you go.
For good or for worse.
Yeah, that station doesn't live in our house.
You're a better man than I am a mom, I guess. Although I will say one of them is super into mellow 70s gold right now. So that was
nice.
I know, right? He's super into the 70s music.
Now you got to get a record player.
I know. Oh, that's a great idea.
Roll that vinyl. I got one a couple months ago and we love it.
Okay.
We love it.
Okay. We got to get back. Sorry.
Derailed.
Okay.
Yes. April and May.
April.
Typically Easter. And so with that, there's another festival of which festival is happening there and then
Flower and Garden.
That's a multi-month affair. The Festival of the Arts one is pretty short. That's really long. So that's still happening. But what's cool is that there's a piece that they add to that as it gets closer to Easter where they'll put up this fun, they'll look like they're actually painted under the buildings, but they're just stuck up there. Sorry to ruin the magic, but you can go to like one of the places in Epcot and you can buy like this thing where you can go around and find like some of the paintings. Wait, no, I'm wrong. That's Festival of the Arts. They'll hide big giant eggs all over Epcot for Easter, and so you can buy this thing for like $7.99. You go around the park, and once you find where it's at, you put the sticker of what character is in whatever. Like if Mickey Mouse egg was somewhere in England, right? Then we saw it right here, and then you put it on. Then you go at the end, and you get like a little prize. So the $8 really gets you like they get like I remember I did it one year for the kids. They weren't there, but I bought them and did it, and it was like literally like a plastic like break apart egg that was like a Mickey or Donald or so you could get one of the Fab Five. That's or something awesome else. So Epcot's still great. So there's some fun Easter things in there.
Yes.
And of course, let's talk about food. So there's always like Disney goes way out when it comes to, or I should say all out. Disney goes all out when it comes to theming food around holidays. And so obviously Easter is going to be no different. So this is the first one that we're really hitting in the calendar year. And so all kinds of Easter specific treats, not only throughout the four parks, but also like amongst resorts and stuff. And so you don't want to miss that. There's some
Mother's Day too in May, right? I mean, there's tons of special menus for that weekend. Yeah.
So, I mean, April is kind of still, we're wrapping up some spring breaks. That's still going on. Yes. And then typically you've got Easter. I know Easter sometimes lands in March. And then the refurbishments are obviously still going strong. They're usually multi-month, they try to get them done by summer-ish or when the summer-ish crowds come. But I don't know. Is there anything else that really stands out in April that I'm overlooking?
I do think that this is kind of an overlap between April and May, but that last week of April, first week of May are like sneaky good times to get in. So I think there's 100%. Like a good lull in the crowds. If you can wait until after the spring breakers leave, before, school gets out for the summer. There's, could we find a crowd calendar and stick it in the show notes?
Oh, of course. There's a bazillion of them.
Yeah. There are, but there are people who are super like analytical and they love to run the data, and everything is kind of like a guessing game at this moment with all that is happening around COVID. But generally speaking, there's some couple of good weeks in there that I think crowds are low, weather's still nice. There's lots of activities, the festival's going on. So
you definitely stole my thunder because
sorry.
You included April and I didn't think about that. And you're right. We have traditionally gone the first week of May. But like before COVID, I think the past 4 years I had gone. And it was mostly because way back before Star Wars exploded in Hollywood studios, they always celebrated something on May the 4th and had the big parade. So I was already going then to just experience that because it was a completely unique experience. I mean, they would have Mark Hamill would come and he would be in they would have some legit people. Anthony Daniels, C-3PO would be. And so you would get to experience, and then of course they would dress up cast members to the nines in like crazy Star Wars uniforms. And so we would always go, but I just kept going because they don't do that anymore, but because the week was so chill and the crowd levels were so low because everybody was back in school, spring break and Easter had wrapped. Everybody's like, we're going in the summer. And so, but you're right. So that like including that last bit of Easter or last bit of April and then into May. Yeah. There's a chunk in there that traditionally was a great time to go with low crowds and still presentable weather. Like it'll still get down in the 60s and 70s and not, and maybe stay in the 80s in April, late April, early May.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I will say, I do think May the 4th in Hollywood now with Galaxy's Edge and just, I mean, this new trilogy and everything. I mean, the Mandalorian, like all of that, there's just such a synergy around that. So that's just a fun day to be at Hollywood Studios.
We still go. There's nothing. And I mean, they do typically sell, like they sell a light side. That's the marathon talk. Sorry. They sell like the, my gosh, my mind is going blank. The good guys, geez, like it's usually an orange shirt that says "May the 4th be with you," then the next day they would sell like a black T-shirt that says "Revenge of the 5th." I mean, so they found a way to they found a way to market it and sell it both, and celebrate it. It was really fun. But and around that time they will do some like, even though the big things are gone, they will have themed snacks around Star Wars Day for sure. Because now that they own Star Wars, it's kind of a much bigger
their
deal.
Own. Yeah. Good point. All right. Well, let's shift to the summer. Summer.
So obviously we get to end of May. Like, I mean, I guess we can say this. Don't go around Memorial Day.
Right. Yeah.
That's a
holiday,
big no.
A lot of people around. Yeah.
There we go. June.
June, July. So here's the thing. Okay. It's hot. It is really hot. It is humid. It rains in the afternoon. Most of the days, most of those aren't washouts, but I think if you can plan for that, it's totally doable. And school is out. There are, we try to squeeze in trips when the kids have, like, I always peruse the school calendar to find out like when there might be a early release on a Friday and a teacher work day on a Monday to try to squeeze in a trip. And there's absolutely reason to do that. There is also a reason to go in the middle of the summer where you have time to breathe. You can take your time. If you're a little bit further away, you can drive down, spend the night on the road. So I think there's a lot of value in that for sure. The park is in full swing in June and July. Everything is open. I mean, most things, unless there's like an extended refurbishment. And again, this is non-COVID time. Right. But I mean, most everything is open. The park hours are long. You can get in, early. Hopefully all of the evening attractions will be back. So I think it's really a fun, and what I love about those long days, the sun is up for so long, is you really can take an extended break in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. You can rest, you can cool off, you can let the rain do its thing, and you still have tons of park time in the evening, and into the night. So all the water rides are going to be fun and not, going to drive you crazy. Like they're going to feel really good. You can have some time at the water park. So yes, it is Florida. It is summer. It is hot. It is humid, but I think that there are really good reasons to go in the summer, and just be prepared. I mean, again, I think if you're prepared, there are lots of tips on how to manage the Florida heat. You can totally make a summer vacation a fantastic one.
Yep. Now, one thing that you didn't say is crowds.
Yeah.
Like you didn't talk about that.
I didn't.
No. But I want to jump in here and say, traditionally, the summer has been pretty insane. Yes. Like when you go, obviously, like if you can avoid it at all costs, I'm sure you think it's magical. I know you love the United States of America. If you can avoid it at any cost, don't go around July 4th. It's just the parks fill up, they close, they shut down. If you're not in line by 10 o'clock in the morning to get into the park, you're not going to get in. And so I get it. Like, or if you go, maybe make that a resort day where you just don't have to go, but expect big crowds for that. But believe it or not, Audrey, the past couple of years before COVID, it wasn't insane. Yeah, it had definitely dipped. And I think because all of these sites and all of these blogs and all of these crowd calendars were like, every day is like 9, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, meaning they all rate on 1 is like the best crowd, 10 is the busiest. So that's kind of how they were rating it. And so everything was like, and it was like green, yellow, red, or really light green, mid green, yellow, dark yellow, red. Right. So that was kind of how they did. And so it was just like red, all the way through. But like in the past couple of years, it hasn't. Now we do need to shift gears and say there's a lot of people who have been pinned up in their homes for a year or longer, totally not really in their homes, but haven't been able to travel like we had the freedoms to travel before. So I expect this summer, especially because when we're recording this, they just dropped the outdoor mask mandate on all of property, unless you're on an attraction, throughout all of Walt Disney World and really SeaWorld, Universal, like all of the parks. So I think that's going to encourage a lot of people that were like, I don't want to go and wear a mask in the middle of the summer.
June, July. Totally. I totally agree.
I think this, again, it's going to be, they've already started raising capacity, but it's not going to be insane because it's still going to be some type of capacity limit. Now I say that, and then like in the next 2 weeks, they could just open it wide open. I mean, things are moving really quickly now.
They really are. I think that's a really good point. And as we move into the fall, we'll talk about other, sneaky new holidays, but I do think there are people leveraging fall breaks, winter breaks, like things differently in the school calendar. So that they aren't all having to come in the summer. And I think it has reduced the pressure. We'll see what this summer, I totally agree with you. I think as soon as people feel comfortable, I think the mask thing was huge. I think we're going to see people, the demand is pent up energy is legit. And it actually might last a couple of years. There might not be people who want to go this summer, but who are planning their 2022 trip.
I mean, it had been a while since our daughter had been able to go. And so I was strategic about, that's one of the reasons that I went and I took her in February, I think. And it was because you had to wear a mask everywhere then. And like, I wanted the weather to be bearable, like it's just hard. Right. So, and our son was the same way. I was like, buddy, I'll take you. Like we go, he's like, no, I'd wait till you don't have to wear masks. Well, now I think he's in because at least you don't have to wear it outside. I think he'll be fine with taking it on and off and that kind of stuff. Let's transition to August, which if you are going to Disney, that means Halloween.
Wait. August.
It definitely does. Yes. So
we
this year is I want to say it's a little bit earlier, but it probably isn't. They're probably using this as the excuse to even make it this moving forward. So we talked and I don't forget, maybe episode 2 about or maybe it was episode 3. I can't remember. They all start to run together after a while, don't they, Audrey? The Boo to You After Hours event is starting August 10th. Now, I'm not saying that that's replacing Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, but that's what they're doing this year in lieu of. And August 10th. So that means if they're having the first party August 10th, that means August 9th at the close of park. If they haven't done it before, they have to decorate the park for Halloween.
For fall.
So you're talking after the second week of August until the October 31st.
Fine by me. Follows my jam.
Yeah. And I love Christmas time in the parks, but the decorations of the pumpkins and the fall leaves all down Main Street. That's my favorite time.
It's beautiful.
So I've mentioned this before. August, even though it's hot as Hades, is a traditional month that we've gone. And again, like I said, even Audrey said, so we're both in Virginia, but she's up in the mountains. And when do your people start school back?
The end of August. Yeah.
So end of August. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Well, our school division is a little, but others around here are starting in earlier August. Yeah. Right. It's all, sorry.
When you hit like Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, they're all like first week of August, they start school because they're out in middle of May.
Yes. Right. Right.
That's why we typically go, because like I said, we live in a resort city where they need high schoolers and teenagers to be able to work.
Right.
And so we don't even start school until the Tuesday after Labor Day. So we have traditionally gone that last week of August just because, I mean, other than locals,
most other people
families aren't traveling.
Yeah. Totally. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So August is a big month for us, but it's no different than June or July. It might even be hotter.
Yeah.
And I think August might be the rainiest month of the year.
I actually think that's right.
In Florida. So, but again, like it's us. Like I love that we get to go, because if I can convince Kim to go a little bit later in the fall, we get to experience Halloween.
Double. Yes.
And then we can get Christmas in too, and go in like in November. Like we can go like before, like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So you beat all the holiday crowds, but still get the Christmas decoration, Christmas party. If they have it, maybe they'll do something similar to Voodoo this year. Maybe by November, it'll be normal. Not even going to try to speculate. Things are getting moving so quickly. So August, hot, fall decorations, Mickey's Not So Scary, or in this year, Boo to You. I'm sorry, Boo Bash. I always say that.
Yeah. And I forgot even in July, because I think this year the Food and Wine Festival starts
you're right.
in July, right?
Yep.
I always think of it as an August. I think of it with the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party.
It's the middle of the month, July 15 this year. July 15 it will start and run through,
November, the second weekend in November, I think.
Yeah. So that's
it's the whole.
That's your longest one. That is the longest running.
Yes.
I think it's the most popular because, again, food and wine.
Yes.
People like to go and experience that. But again, go to Flower and Garden. Yeah. It's still like food and wine.
Yeah.
It's just prettier because there's all kinds of topiaries.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There was some speculation too about if the concert series is coming back, because some of the artists have on their personal sites that they're booked in Orlando coming this fall. So we'll see if that.
All right. Well, they were doing, I don't know if I mentioned it on this show, they were doing when we were there. The American Pavilion always has the Voices of Liberty, which they're insane. Yes. They were like in that stage right there outside of the American Pavilion, the outdoor amphitheater. Yeah. They would socially distance and sing. And then the guys from Mexico, that fun band, like they were there. And so they were doing outside, and you could go and sit down. Obviously, it was like, I forget how they were doing. It may have been every other row. And there were markings on the seat. So it wouldn't surprise me, especially, if they limit they haven't, but if they limit everything to like 3 feet, at least I don't think they've limited it to 3 feet yet. But I expect.
Well, and I mean, they called the Festival of the Arts in the Flower and Garden a taste of. So a taste of the Flower and Garden Festival, and they have not used that language for Food and Wine. They have just said Food and Wine Festival begins July. So it does. They're sort of hinting. I mean, for those of us who are totally reading the tea leaves, well, that's what I was going to say. Pay attention to how Disney word stuff, right? Because you're absolutely right. You can read between the lines. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think taking the turn from August into September. I mean, gosh, y'all, I feel like I'm a broken record about the fall. I think the sneaky thing with September, especially for me being in the mountains, is I'm like, oh my gosh, like the mornings, it starts to smell like the fall here. And then you go to Orlando and it's like summertime.
Yep. So still summer.
Definitely it is still hot, very humid. It is kind of probably even in August to be mindful of hurricane season.
Yes.
But the parks are still, I would say, the crowds are going to be the lowest. I mean, you guys know I'm a new DVC member, so I'm trying to interpret the points charts, and across the board, that first 3/4 of September are the lowest points per room. So it is a great time to go crowd wise, and everything is still open, which is great. Like the park is still open. You're not in, the heat is there for sure, but it is sort of that sweet kind of like the same crowd dynamics that are happening in January, but you have all of the water parks, everything is still open. And so I think it's a terrific time to go. I mean, it's, for those of us with kids at the beginning of school, this is why it's so empty, because it feels implausible for us to try to figure out how to squeeze in, a trip the kind of trip that we would plan in September. But yeah, if you have the flexibility of your schedule to go, it's worth it to try to figure out how to get down there.
So what's funny is I said like traditionally for our August trip was late August, but when our oldest was pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, I was still taking them totally. They would go to school for a week. And then like we would take a long weekend and go. Yeah. Because again, everybody's back in school.
And this is really a benefit to your kind of travel that I don't, the way that we travel, September is really just not an option for us because we want to go for 5 and 6 nights. So, if you are thinking of traveling sort of more Team Dave here, you can take advantage of a month like September for sure. I was really nice about how you like to travel just then, just for the record.
There you go. I got 1 point.
Hey.
Okay. So October, that's me. Okay. October, things are this year kind of a really big deal. October 1 will be the official 50th anniversary of the Magic Kingdom. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm going to be there, but I'm going to be there. I have a reservation for Magic Kingdom, which you cannot get right now on that
October 1st
day. And again, things have drastically changed since we started recording these shows, because we started recording these in early May when nothing had been. And so now I'm even more optimistic that something potentially could happen in front of the castle on October 1st.
October 1st.
No clue. Gosh. There's no telling. Like maybe this is not, but I'm like, Disney, you got like 3.5, 4 months.
I don't think there's anybody who wants to do it more than they do. That is all
right.
Sure.
Come on, let's go. So we have that, which is kind of a big deal. And another thing that happens on the same day, Ratatouille opens at Epcot. And so those two parks right now you can't get into, but what's great about the park hopping after 2, and again, that could all have changed by the time we get to October as well. But I'm still planning on going to Epcot just to be there. I want to be at both parks when something new happens. If it's like traditional ride opening days where like I think back to Frozen, and it was like when that opened in Norway, it was like a 7-hour wait that day. I'm not that guy. I'll go to Disney World enough that I can go back and like 2 months later when I'm bringing Isaiah, and we'll go ride it.
Yes.
And I got to ride it in Paris, so it's a clone copy. Yeah. So it's cute. It's fun. It'll be a super big, exciting thing. Yeah. And of course, the Boo Bash will end October 31. Yes. So, and in the past, there's been a couple of years where the Mickey's Not So Scary crept over to like November 1st.
I was looking at that, and I think it's because I think it depends on when Halloween falls on a weekend. Yep. And this year Halloween is a Sunday. And so it doesn't make a ton of sense for them to add a Monday night. Nope. But when we were there a couple of years, I think Halloween was on a Friday. So adding a couple of those, onto the weekend maybe.
Yes. And it's probably worth mentioning we're still kicking strong with Food and Wine. Food and Wine's still going.
Yeah, I know. Still going strong. Like the Energizer.
But, so like, Disney is definitely known. Just jumping back to the 50th, this will be it will cover 3 calendar years. It'll be an 18-month long celebration at minimum. I feel like I made a joke that like Mickey's still wearing his 90th birthday on the outfit on the floats. I mean, so that's going 3 years strong. So we'll see. I think they'll stretch this, as long as they can. They're a company for profit, and their for profits have been down. Yeah. So they will milk it for all it's worth, and more power to them. Like it's
absolutely.
So, and I will stand by, I'll stand by this. I think we covered this earlier, but like, if you're not going October 1st, and going to be there right and miss the launch of the 50th.
Yeah.
You're the worst experience of the 50th is going to be at the beginning, in my opinion.
I agree.
In my opinion. Because there's
so
still
much
rides.
To come. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
You want to wait, like if you can, like wait till Tron is ready and Guardians of the Galaxy is ready and everything's and Harmonious is kicking and going nightly. Like you just want, like it is so worth the wait. And like, I'm just a Disney nerd that wants to be there on the day of, to be in the building, as they say. I just want to be there.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sentimental about the anniversary. I think I said this earlier, but I, as a kid, was there for the 10th anniversary, not on the date, but we were there during the 10th anniversary celebration and the 15th anniversary celebration. So I'm so excited to get our kids down there. We'll be a few weeks after you, but
you missed the birthday cake? Sorry, don't you remember the birthday cake castle for the 25th? That thing
no, we weren't there for the 25th, but yeah. We were there. What did I say? 10th and 15th.
Yeah. But I was just saying the 25th anniversary was the birthday cake.
I remember that.
That was vomit inducing. Yes. But I know I'm going to get eggs thrown at me because some people love it. I'm like, really?
I mean,
anyway.
It's Disney. It's anniversary.
All right. Take us into the holidays, Audrey.
Oh, November. Singing my song. So, November is just fantastic. The weather is starting to cool. The decorations, I've mentioned this before on our trip a couple of years ago. We happened to, this was not on purpose. Again, I was like milking the kids' school calendar, but we just happened to be there when the fall decorations were at the beginning of our trip. And then literally overnight, the Christmas decorations were put up. In fact, they were all up in Magic Kingdom, and there are a couple, even before the fall decorations were down, they were constructing the gingerbread house. I mean, it's like a castle in the Contemporary. It's unbelievable. So it is, the Food and Wine comes to a conclusion finally. There is the Wine and Dine Run Disney event, which is a fun weekend, usually the second weekend in November. And
now we were talking about the races.
Yeah.
And so how everything's been virtual so far. So, but give the little read between the lines, Disney.
Yeah. Here's my read between the Run Disney lines, which is they have opened registration for all of the dates prior to the Wine and Dine race as virtual, but they have not opened a registration for Wine and Dine. So we'll see if that might be the first actual race that our dear runners get to participate in real, in person.
Can I give a secret?
Yes.
Like I have some friends that on the social media have posted their invitation to the New York Marathon this year. Oh. So if that's open, I have a sneaky suspicion that
interesting.
We might, especially in New York. I mean, when you talk about a liberal state who is not, who has been a little bit more like California on the East Coast. So again, we have no inside information. I'm just I'm just looking at what's going on in the country.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good word. There are special events. So the Boo Bash comes to a conclusion, and we are hoping there will be some version of the Christmas party. I imagine there will be. We'll see what happens with numbers in the fall and that kind of thing. But it would be fantastic if we could get Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party back, or some version of that. So that's happening in November. I mean, the big giant, take a red marker out and circle that week of Thanksgiving. If that's your jam and you don't mind crowds, you go for it. But it is packed.
It's sometimes worse than July 4th.
Yeah. So
because it's more than one day.
Yeah, it's the weekend. But I get, if that's when your family can go, that's when you can go. That's when your friends can go. Just know what you're getting into. plan on working around it. There are some great strategies in touring plans. I think we're going to do a whole episode on just our favorite resources, other genius people who we leverage when we're planning our trips. There are fantastic resources on how to tour the parks when they're packed. So it's a very festive time to go. It is just incredibly crowded. So I think November is awesome. It's one of my very favorite months to be there.
Yes. Again, traditionally, like you said that it was it was a happy accident when you were there for the changeover.
Yes. Yes.
Mine was very intentional in 2020. I went it changed over November 6th and I went the 4th through the 8th.
Oh, good.
Went on purpose. So I stood underneath the tree and just watched the cavalcades come down every 15 minutes for an hour until I recorded them all.
I love that.
So fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will say through the month of November, the decorations tend to evolve a little bit. I know that Hollywood Studios, which I have never been to Hollywood Studios when it's decorated for Christmas, which is killing me because they have amazing retro Christmas decorations. Those tend to take a while longer to come together. So just a heads up that it doesn't all happen immediately at the beginning of November. Some of those do take a little bit of time.
As well as the resorts. The resorts usually take a little bit longer as well.
That's correct. Yeah.
At least full decorations. I mean, they'll have the stuff like, you're talking about, they start early with the gingerbread house and then all the stuff that they do.
Trees,
and like that kind of stuff is easier for them. But the full out, all throughout the hallways and all throughout the lobby and out front, that stuff, they just, it's not very long, but it may not be one day. It may take a week or two.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Which brings us
wrap us up.
December. Again, this is another historically first week of December is something that we've hit for sure. And that is specifically if it didn't work out in November, because November is a busy month because there's a lot of at least in Virginia, there's a lot of school closures, and I'm sure it's nationwide, but there's a lot of school closures in November, and not even counting fall break, right? So so there is, and so Florida's. Disney World is pretty busy, and so November is a time where bad parent. I have gone by myself, but typically we'll go in December, the first week, because that is well before anybody's out of school. There's no real holidays because winter break is coming up. Everybody's want to either if people are going to Disney World in December, they're going for winter break. That's when they're going. They're going to be there over Christmas if you go the week or two into December,
Christmas,
it feels no different other than you're not going to be there on Christmas Day. Pre-COVID, the parties are happening multiple nights a week. Everything is decorated by then.
Yep.
I highly recommend, if you can swing it, December, the 15th and earlier.
Yeah.
I'll just put it at that. I'll just leave and then obviously what happens from there. You get into Christmas holiday and then into new. And so that is one thing traditionally about Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party is that will always extend past December 25th because they'll just continue celebrating up to New Year's Eve, which obviously that's another big, just like July 4th. Got to get there early. The park, they'll shut down the park. They'll reach capacity really quick. And then that, again, just like July 4th is insane fireworks. It's different than any other night of the year where, they're not playing your typical, what is a Happily Ever After is not what's playing. They do a special one. And of course they do a countdown and they'll do it 2 nights in a row. That's another secret. I think they do it New Year's Eve and New Year's Eve. I think they'll do it.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I've seen videos of the countdown
of it happening twice. Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I want to give before we close, can I give us a cool little fun fact?
Yes.
Disney Parks blog that is a YouTube channel worth following.
Yes.
Because all throughout the year, and as they've done it, they were doing this way before COVID, but it's obviously been a lot more meaningful during COVID, but they will do live events from the parks that showcase these fun like events,
Yes,
right? They'll
right.
do like, they'll typically pick a very Merry Christmas party and show you the fireworks live.
Right.
Or
Right.
they'll
Right.
just
right.
do a random happily ever after night. And so
Yeah.
it is definitely worth like subscribing to their YouTube channel, because those will come up and they'll do a live thing where you'll get to experience a little bit of the magic kind of in
Yeah.
between your trip. So that's kind of like a fun fact. I always love when they just do some special, and they'll even do some weird stuff like where
Yeah.
they'll do like a, it's like a 15-20 minute stream where the sun will, they'll do the sunrise over the castle at Magic Kingdom.
I love it.
Like they'll just do some really, or like the savannah, like at either the lodge or at Animal Kingdom. They'll just like a sunrise or a sunset. They've done some really unique things.
I love them.
That kind of get you your special park moment if you can't be at the parks.
One of my very favorite sunrises at Walt Disney World was seeing the sunrise from the People Mover.
That's really.
Yeah, we were there. That was when Galaxy's Edge opened. And so they like had all the parks opening at like 6 and 7 o'clock because they thought it was going to be packed, which it wasn't exactly, but we leveraged it. It was fantastic.
Yes, love it.
But
Especially
sunrise from the People
risers.
Mover. Yeah.
All right, this was a
Awesome.
little bit longer episode,
it
but
was
it was
long.
worth it.
Sorry.
I mean, 12 months.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to unpack.
Yeah, I think the
12 months.
lesson here is there are great reasons to go anytime and just challenges. And once you know what you're getting into, just work around it and you're going to have a great time.
Indeed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dave.
Love it.
Good to see
Again, as always,
right.
if you have any, please ask us any questions.
Yeah,
Tell us
right.
where we made mistakes. What are some things that we missed? And the easiest way to do that is 757-563-4742. Leave us a voicemail, text us.
Yep.
Either one will work.
Love to hear from you.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Bye, guys.